What's up, Doc?
And not much, Grace. How are you? Ain't I a stinker?
It's so amazing. You do all these voices. I want to talk about that, but in this new movie, The Day the Earth Blew Up, a Looney Tunes movie, you are the two leads, the two guys behind you, Porky Pig and Daffy Duck.
I like to call them the devil and duck on my shoulder. So
We have Daffy Duck over here and the Porky Pig over here.
Which one are you more like? Do you have one that you gravitate towards?
I mean, I think we all try to be like Porky, just kind of a little mild-mannered.
But deep down inside, you know you're Daffy.
I loved him. I loved their relationship in the movie. I thought it was really sweet.
Yeah.
I thought, how would you describe Looney Tunes? Because, it's been a minute, and it's such a distinct style. And I think that today, people are really going to gravitate towards how honest the movie is.
Absolutely. You just hit it on the head, is that it was kind of made to compete with how sweet Disney was. It's almost like the anti-Disney cartoon in a sense. And no knock on Disney, because I love Disney as well. And a lot of the animators that were alive and working in the 1940s came from Disney or worked with Walt Disney. He was the innovator at the time. And, this particular style of Looney Tunes harkens back to one director in particular named Bob Clampett. And he was more of like the wacky, he was really almost like the Salvador Dali of Looney Tunes. And then you have someone that was a bit more refined, like Chuck Jones, who did the
rabbit season, duck season.
He did those cartoons. So that was kind of like, I feel like when you were in that era, that was the last thing you saw. And that's kind of like how you remember them. But there are people that still remember when Daffy was crazy and kind of just a little bit more on the loony side than the greedy side.
That's true. And, I think it's interesting you bring up the artistry, because this film is stunning. I mean, it's really gorgeous, particularly at the intro with the farmer and everything. I mean, it was funny too. There's some good animation gags.
Yes,
but
yes.
You're clearly, your animation. I know you studied animation yourself. How does it feel to be part of a 2D animated movie when 3D animation has just dominated so much lately?
It feels fantastic as a kid growing up in the 90s who loved 2D animation. And I'm talking about Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, Lion King, even stuff like Beavis and Butthead Do America. These were the things that I grew up watching. And I remember the moment I saw Toy Story for the first time in theaters, how mesmerized I was and amazed that this could exist. And here we are in 2025. CG has, 3D animation has definitely dominated the playing field. But we still have contenders like this movie that remind people of how amazing 2D hand-drawn animation can be.
Oh, like the opening sequence alone?
And I really do hope that this strikes a chord with animation fans everywhere and kind of causes a bit of...
It happened again. I'm sorry this keeps happening.
It's okay, because it happened right when I took a bite of my cookie.
What kind of cookie are you eating?
Oh, classic New York black and white cookie.
Ah, great choice. Great choice. I love it.
One thing that I have to do when I'm here every time I come to the city.
Now, where were we? Let's see.
No, but I think that the warmth, especially the opening scene for this movie with the scientists and everything. I mean, it's so beautiful. It's a warmth and an artistry you don't get in 3D animation, in my opinion.
That is, I feel like you may have been an animator in your past life.
Well, I have an affinity for it like you do. I mean, I think it makes a big difference.
Like what you're saying makes perfect sense, because an animator, no matter if it's CG or 2D, but you really feel it with 2D animation, the feeling that someone is making this with emotion. Like,
yes,
I'm a voice actor, but animators are just as much as the performance of these characters, if not more than my voice.
Please, you're at a very important part. And you do so many voices for Looney Tunes. You not only do these two guys, but you do Bugs Bunny as you did. You do Pepe Le Pew.
Yes, that is correct, Grace. I'm very happy that you would bring him up.
Mwah! And not only do you do the voices so well, but I think even more important is you have the attitude. Like, it's so cool. Like, you become the characters. How do you do that?
Mel Blanc. Mel Blanc is the secret ingredient, as he always has been. He was the original voiceover artist that performed these characters about 90 years ago. We're entering the 90th year of Looney Tunes, and I would be probably driving you to your next destination in my Uber if it wasn't for Mel Blanc. You know, I would be fixing the plumbing in everyone's building in New York had it not been for these guys and gals. I mean, June Foray is on that list as well. She was like the first woman of animation voiceover. So if it weren't for them laying down, you know, paving the way for people like me, I don't know what I'd do with my life.
Well, you're very busy now. I mean, how do you film a scene like this where you're there's a lot of scenes where it's Daffy and Porky.
Yes.
Can you switch? I mean, you're so good on the fly. Do you do it live or do you do one and then the other?
Well, Grace, for instances like this, I can go back and forth between Daffy and Porky with ease.
But if we're in a movie where we have 90 minutes to cover, and that could be anything from action sequences to, you know, conversations like we're having now, I rely heavily on the director, Pete Browngardt, to kind of guide me through all the scenes, all the sequences, all the acts of this picture. And without their help, I would probably still be in the booth, like a rubber room.
And making everybody laugh. You're very funny.
Well, thank you.
Do you ever do any improv when you're?
You know, it's funny you mentioned, because I have had like chances to do stand-up or improv for that matter, but I always think about this. I always think about like being in the booth, or I think about like what my next voiceover gig is going to be. And that has always been the fuel for my fire when it comes to what I want to do. And
thank goodness for this guy, you know?
The last question I want to ask you is, you know, obviously you started out a fan.
Yes.
And these days, Hollywood has a difficult relationship with fans. It's very tricky.
Sure.
But, you know, you've come from being a fan to being these characters. And so, you know, Warner Brothers is so lucky they found you. So what do you think is getting lost in the translation between Hollywood and fans, you know, in the current situation?
Uh-oh. Sorry, can you repeat that last question?
Sure. What do you think is getting lost in translation between Hollywood and fans these days?
Well, it's interesting, you know, again, I think Hollywood in general is just trying to find its stepping after having lived through a pandemic and 2 strikes. You know, the way we take in our programming, our shows and our movies. You know, streaming has definitely proven itself to be successful, because to be perfectly honest with you, if streaming wasn't doing well, it would have been gone a long time ago. It would have been replaced with something else. But the fact of the matter is, you know, someone's making money and it's not me. And, you know, we just have to learn how to respect the artists and reward the people who are keeping the lights on in a different way that isn't financial, but we're the creative folks, right? Like this is who you hire when you want to tell the story. And unfortunately, because there are no set laws governing how people, you know, may get further payment from submitting something on streaming, it's kind of becoming less of a career and more of like a paid hobby. So in order to kind of keep that alive for, you know, for people like characters like the Looney Tunes, you know, we got to keep going out to the cinemas and keep supporting now what we consider now independent animation. You know,
you have a theatrical release.
Yeah, it's kind of I think I truly believe this is a big pendulum that we're on, and it swings back and forth. And I think we're on the way for the backswing for the good. I think we're learning from our mistakes, and hopefully growing a heart and a conscience as well. So we'll see how it turns out.
It was so nice to meet you.
Likewise, Grace. Nice to meet you too.
Bye.
Oh, and that's all, folks.